Oh my God, hello. This is Star Host, an astrology podcast where we talk about the hell of living through another apocalypse and the transits coming next week that we are horny for. I am a host, Lana McKenna. I have a Gem Sun, Pisces Moon, and Capricorn Rising.
I'm Matt Dragonstone. I'm another host. I have a Taurus Sun, Sagittarius Moon, and Taurus Rising.
And I'm Larissa Kesby. I'm your final host. I have a Pisces Sun, Leo Moon, and a Libra Rising, and we are so excited, so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Oh my God. Welcome back, everybody. This is Star Host. I am Lana. I will be hosting this segment as always. We are very excited. We don't have our usual politics, astro deep dive, anything like that today for Lockdown Lowdown. We actually have a very incredible guest that we are so thrilled to have to talk to us about, I guess, kind of everything. Her life, her career in spirituality and medical intuition. She is the principal and director of Millennium Education. She's a medical intuitive and a life coach with over 20 years experience. And she's also been a nurse for 15 years, which totally out of control. Incredible. What a journey. What a story. We cannot wait to get into it. Thank you so much for joining us, Jean Sheehan. How you doing?
I'm really good, Lana. How are you?
Really well, thank you. It is so good to have you on the show. We are so keen to get into everything and talk about what you do and how you, I guess, kind of came to be who you are now. Would you mind telling us about yourself and what you get up to?
Oh, what I get up to. So I love your introduction. It makes me sound like really, really like up there type thing. I like to bring it back down and say, I'm actually known as the walking, talking MRI. And so when I get introduced to keynote speak or speak at universities or cruise ships or wherever I'm speaking about medical intuition, it's always, and here is Jean Sheehan, the walking, talking MRI. And you can imagine audiences' faces of like, what? What do you mean walking, talking MRI? So what does that mean? I have had a gift from birth of being able to see the anatomy and physiology inside people. And I integrate it with my ferocious science business mind and total woo-woo mind. And the term walking, talking MRI came from a client who was really skeptical about what I could do. And I was able to accurately say, this is what happened, this is what's going on, this is why you went unconscious, this is what you need to do, etc. And he said, what are you? Walking, talking MRI. And it just stuck. So what's it called? It's also called medical intuition. Why? Because I've got a nursing, pathology, autopsy background. And the intuition is that spontaneous insight that everybody's got. Everybody, whether it's you think, oh, I might turn right, even though the GPS is saying left, or I might take that raincoat because it might rain or whatever. And so together, medical intuition is your body talks, what's it saying, and looking at life as your body speaking is saying, you're not following your path, you're not shining your brilliance. Great. You're not going to listen, we'll create disharmony, then we'll create disease, wake up. So that's medical intuition, to bring people back into their heart, wake up and really shine your brilliance.
It's such cool stuff, Jane. Like, I've been on some courses with you and I've experienced this stuff firsthand. I was introduced to you through Alison. We're all like this beautiful big community. It's so funny how we all kind of come together and in and out of each other's lives when we need each other the most, which is so cool. But I guess I can, and I also could listen to you talk all day, like all day, my entire life. I love hearing your story and your amazing view on things. But I guess we would love to hear about your journey of your spiritual awakening and what that was like for you.
Pretty crazy. So I knew I could see inside the body as a child, but that was totally taboo in my culture. My culture is actually Greek Arabic, and so you don't do that sort of thing. I could predict the future. I knew who was going to die. I knew why people were sick. I could talk to the animals. Like, here's this little freaky child, but in my culture it was all squashed. And so I was taught from a young age of don't share any of this stuff. It was until age 16 when my mum died on Christmas Day that I really shut down my gift, because I couldn't understand why the medical system couldn't see what I could see, how to heal her bowel and liver cancer. So I shut down, completely shut down. 2 years later, from that time I became homeless, and 2 years later I met this lovely lady who was 13 years older, who introduced me to this lady called a palmist. And I went, oh, what's a palmist? It was like I'd come home, but I didn't know what it was because it wasn't spoken about at home. I still bumbled along. I could still see inside everybody's body, and I was nursing because that was my vow back to my mum of I couldn't help her. I'll go into nursing, help patients, understand people's bodies. I'd write case studies to understand, still keeping the patients confidential. And then did pathology to quantify what I could see from a blood test or a pathology specimen, and autopsies, what I could see with my intuitive eyes. I could actually see physically in autopsies, but my awakening still didn't happen. I was still refusing to fully blown wake up. And what I mean by that was I was suppressing this gift of being able to see inside the body and share it. And the way I suppressed it was on Boxing Day, I started smoking. My mum said to me on Christmas Eve, you ever start smoking, I'll come back and haunt you. Christmas Day, she died. My brain heard her say, start smoking, I'll be with you. And smoking affects the lungs where we hold grief. So I suppressed the grief by smoking. So fast forward some more. I was still grieving not being able to share my knowledge and wisdom and what I could do. And I couldn't handle it. My husband that I met at 16 years old, when I became homeless, I couldn't share even with him because I really believed and was trained to believe that I was unlovable. I was awful to go out with. I was embarrassment because of all of this. And so I was suicidal. And I had the pills in my hand because I was a nurse. I knew what pills to have. I had the pills in my hand and I was ready to bump myself off. And then I got a vision of my son, who was only about 2 at that stage. And I thought, oh, I can't do it. I can't leave him alone. So there was a slight awakening there of don't die and not let him shine his brilliance, which is what happened with my mum. But it wasn't until I decided, that's it. I'm going to leave nursing. I've got to come out of the closet, as I call it. I moved from the city to the beach, which just was a childhood dream to move by the beach. And as I moved to the beach, I was driving along the road and I could hear all the dolphins and whales and turtles and all these animals talking. And my 2 young children said to me, Mummy, you can finally hear them. And I went, that's it. Right, I've lost it. Losing the plot. I've gone fruitless. Somebody put me into the psych unit now. Because I had pushed away the intuition, I'd become very grounded, logical, and, as a nurse, you had to appear this way, do that. I thought, wash it away. That's fine. I got quite unwell, and I thought, I think I actually need to give up smoking. So 20 years of grief, I cried for like 12 months. But as I was going through that process, there was an awakening where I had a disgusting 7-day migraine. I'll call it a migraine, but it wasn't. 7 days of this intense headache, vomiting, lying on the ensuite bathroom floor, hugging the toilet bowl. My husband was working away in the army at that time, and my dog at that time, Lucky, she just howled as though I was dying, and I felt like I was dying. I didn't know anyone at the beach where I moved to, and the 2 little kids had to fend for themselves, food and all the rest of it. I couldn't move off the floor. Like, it was quite horrific. And in that awakening, it was my whole crown chakra just splitting right open to the cosmos, dimensions, everything that I knew as a kid. And it was like, that's it. You can't stop it. When that awakening finished, day 8, got in the car. I need to get food. I need to try to function, which I found really hard because I had stroke-like symptoms where I couldn't speak, I couldn't communicate, I all these physical things, and my left brain, nurse brain, was still logically there going, oh, you've had a stroke, you've had no. But the right brain was going like, wow. It was almost like I'll call it like a rebirth, where I went to the ATM to pull out money. I didn't know what to do. I suddenly had to retrain my brain how to be human. Was it a stroke? No. Stroke-like symptoms, yes. Headache, etc., etc. But it was, I had to actually retrain myself how to be. But it was like coming back to when I was born, of now, say it, be it, speak it. And from that moment, I never ever shut up about or kept quiet, being able to see inside the body, etc. So my awakening was quite crazy. In actual fact, I've never told anybody this. This is the first time. I've written it in my book, but I haven't talked about this part at all. So it's interesting, Lewis, you've asked this question, and this is just sort of spewing out of my mouth.
Yeah, we need to hear it. It's such an incredible story.
Yeah, so my awakening was like, wake up. You got to do this. Don't hide it. Just, share it. And it was challenging because I'm not psychic. I'm not clairvoyant. I'm quite grounded, but I can tell you accurately what's happening in the body as though doing a blood test, X-ray, MRI. I can tell you exactly what age, past life, everything, dimensions, sacred geometry, pattern, but I'm not psychic clairvoyant. Yes, I see guides, angels, I call them all dudes, but they're not telling me either. And that's where I held back. So the awakening is, oh, for goodness sake, stop it. Just come out of the closet and talk. And from that moment, it was private sessions to can you teach it, to accredited medical intuitive courses, medical intuitive oracle cards, etc., etc. So that's my awakening.
Bloody hell. That's quite a lot.
Yes. I love that, Matt. That was a great reaction.
So that's an incredible story of your spiritual awakening, Jean, and thank you very much for sharing it with us. I'm sure that many people experience fragments of your story that are similar with their own spiritual awakenings. So I'm really interested in what the best piece of advice you would give to people who are just starting out in connecting to their spirituality, because I'm sure not many people would have the same experience as you because it's unique. But I'm sure you've got so much advice and wisdom to share for people who are maybe just starting to get in touch with that inner light and just starting to walk on that path. Can you talk a bit about that?
The biggest thing that I didn't do was surrender. And the surrendering was to, when you say spirituality, to me, everything is spirituality. Whether you're eating chocolate cake, whether you're going to work, whether you're into oracle cards, everything is. But it's a surrendering to the brilliance of ourselves. Because we're so taught in the world of, don't shine, tall poppy syndrome, don't be too big for your boots and all that sort of thing. And it's almost like saying, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to totally let go of all the stories, beliefs that I thought I was, someone told me I was, and I'm ready to see myself. That would be number one, the surrender. The other thing that was really important in my awakening was actually food. And the food is, once I got off wheat, sugar, dairy, I did stop eating total meat. I only occasionally ate fish. That actually made the awakening to that spirituality easier. And of course, definitely giving up cigarettes because I was a big smoker. And having no stimulants. My stimulant was chocolate and coffee. That actually helped as well. So once I went, right, I surrender, and that was me vomiting for the 7 days. It was like, oh my gosh, if I had just gave myself permission that it's okay to be me, shine me, which is spirituality, I wouldn't have had that horrible headache. Oh my gosh, it would have been so much easier. So for me, that's it. We're so frightened to shine. We're so frightened to say, hey, I'm into oracle cards. I love pet rocks, crystals. Or I think somebody's with me. Just being able to go, stop. Let's just go for it. So it sounds really basic of surrender and beware of foods and stimulants and coffee and things like that. But that would be it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that there's immense wisdom in the body, and it sounds like connecting with that is a great piece of advice for people who are just starting out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's not where you look first. You know what I mean? I think people really, when they're looking to change parts of their lives or do things differently or have that spiritual moment, they really look externally. When really, what you're saying is look within first, because that's where the answers are.
Got it. And it is where the answers are. And in all those gorgeous spiritual books, and or even the scriptures from the Bible, the Tao, the Course in Miracles, all of it says look within. So what do? Look without. Like how many times us humans have to actually get the message of look within. So you're spot on.
I just can't get over your story, Jean. It's really incredible. I can't believe how much you've been through. I also am really not surprised, but I was like very surprised to hear you say how like smoking in lungs is all about grief.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense to me as somebody who picked up smoking as a teenager and thinking about the types of people who started smoking when they were kids as well. I think there's so much about medical intuition. Sorry, I'm just going to go on a tangent for a second. But there's so much about medical intuition that even just as you start to learn a bit about it, it's kind of like you've always known. Does that make sense? Like when you hear those things? Yeah.
And we actually speak the language of medical intuition. When people, I was doing a Facebook Live yesterday and I was talking about the digestive tract and I was saying about the stomach. We say things like, I can't stomach that. And somebody wrote on my reply of, yes, I couldn't stomach when my mother died. Absolutely. We speak it, or I'm livid, or I'm pissed off, which is liver or bladder. So, we actually already know it. And the body, it's within again, just like Larissa said before.
I would love to know from your perspective what you think is happening on a global scale at the moment, and what everything that's happening with Trump and COVID, and what you think that's trying to teach us. What do you think that's pushing us towards doing that we haven't woken up to yet?
Larissa, I knew you were going to ask this. So it's interesting is that what haven't we woken up to? Let's go to beautiful Trumpy. I just think he's the best. Now, people think and say to him, what is wrong with you? Everything in the world at the moment is about wake up. So whether it be COVID, whether it be Trump, whether it be the seasons and the weather, just crazy at the moment. When I talk about intuition, I talk about vibrational medicine from plants and things, and how each signature of the plant gives a particular property, a bit like naturopathy. And things like bottle brush should only come out in September. It's been out 4 times this year, so everything's just like all over the place. Or animals have been coming out and talking instead of hiding, or whales have been breaching when they shouldn't be. Or so that thing of what is happening, it actually aligns with what I call sacred geometry. So sacred geometry is like the mathematics of creation, of absolute love. And in one of them, the Millennium Grid that I teach, I talk about the numbers are really relevant. So I'm going to go to the numbers 2019, 2020, 2021, that we are right on par, going tick, 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 exactly where we need to be. 2019, last year, was all about the whole world was you must express yourself differently. And if you don't, then there will be like a push. And so then we have particular retrogrades, moon cycles, planetary things, everything to align to go, humans, wake up. Let's follow the evolutionary process here. The universe knows what to do. Why do you keep bucking the system? But of course, us humans like to buck the system. 2020 comes along and it's about being beside ourselves. So what's happened this year? People have been beside themselves, whether it be with the voting in the USA, COVID-19, restrictions, loss of jobs, whatever, you name it. people have been beside themselves. And what that means is it's like they're not the integrated whole being. So it's express yourself differently. You can't be fear-based, driven, externalized, looking for the answers outside of yourselves. You must go within. You must wake up to the internal wisdom of yourself, because that's our core natural being. Nope, we're still not doing it. So 2021 energies, where people are going from beside themselves and not knowing who they are from loss of job or whatever the thing is, to 2021 is all about this is me. And it relates to that song from, name the movie for me, guys.
It's The Greatest Showman.
Thank you so much.
I only know this because I've listened to this 1,000 times at one of your retreats this year,
right.
last year.
Yeah. Last year, yep. So, yeah, This Is Me from The Greatest Showman. That song where that, again, I've forgotten the singer's name, where she comes out, she's a bearded lady in her character, and all of the supposedly obscure people, which they're not, are saying, this is me, I'm going to shine, nobody can hurt me. That's the energy for next year. So we're actually on par, but what we do as humans is we buck the system and we go, nope, I know better. And so nature and Mother Earth, Mother Sky, the animals are all saying, look, we've had enough of you guys. You haven't listened. So if I look at pathology, when I worked in pathology, everyone knows the flu. You know, you get it each year. Or no, I don't, but some people get it each year in winter. Swine flu, SARS virus, all of them are the normal flu. So is COVID-19. It's a flu. But all of them are from the animals. And the animal, bird flu, etc. All of them are saying, people, wake up. So via the animals, they're saying, wake up. Or the name COVID, like we've called it COVID-19, but really, or corona, that just means flu. The word corona means crown chakra. Open up your crown chakra and then you see the bigger picture, which is ourselves. So all the other flus previous could have been called corona COVID. It's just this year, for some reason, the marketing has been COVID-19, which is 19. You must express yourselves differently. So everything's pointing to wake up, do it differently, express yourselves. Not in fear-based, but in love-based. See the love in everything. Be who you really are, which is love-based, not fear-based. That's part of medical intuition as well. It's not about working in fear anymore. It's about seeing the bigger picture. So whether it be Trump, saying some interesting comments. Did you like that? Interesting? The word interesting?
Yes.
Interesting comment. It's still wake up. Somewhere he is part of the universal plan of pushing buttons to wake up. And what will it take for all of us to wake up? Well, at April 2020, the whole world stopped and was at one-ment, which I thought was beautiful. Everybody else is panicking and I'm thinking, no, we're all home. It's about go home, go to your rooms, human. Stop and think what you're doing. Stop and think about how you're being and creating the world. And we were all at one-ment at the same access point. So, yeah, for me, everything in the world at the moment is just the most delicious times for us to all see the love. And what's happened? People that are self-centered have suddenly gone, oh my gosh, that little old lady that lives in that house can't go to the supermarket. I'm going to buy her groceries. I'll leave it at her door. Or we'll renovate the house, or we'll get chickens and make a veggie patch. It's coming back to appreciation, gratitude, absolute love. I see it as the most incredible thing. But again, the world is still playing a little bit naughty and going, no, not going to do it, don't like it. If we just followed the universal laws, the corona COVID thing would actually disappear really quickly. How does it affect the immune system? Same with Trump. A lot of people are not immune to what he says. All corona is about immune system. And the immune system and the thymus gland is all about evolving. And we're not evolving into the love space. So for me, this is the shake and wake. And if we don't shake and wake, 2022 is all about big time all right, time to end. So there's actually an evolution as we go through each year according to sacred geometry, which is different from numerology. And then we go to 2023, which is the number 10 of, right, you guys aren't waking up, you need to check in on your mind. So to me, Larissa, it's a beautiful, beautiful time if people would stop and just listen, which is going back to Matt's question of spirituality. Just stop, listen to the silence, listen to the heartbeat, totally surrender. So does that answer your question?
Definitely. Incredible advice. I think a lot of people are really struggling. This is really unprecedented for a lot of people. So, and it's funny that you say that, because it's the exact same advice that Alison Mackenzie gave when she was on with us for episode 4. We asked her the similar question, and she was like, people just need to stop and breathe and focus on your breathing and, listen to your heartbeat and go within.
Yep.
And it's true. We forget sometimes.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Yeah. And it's getting out of the head, come back into the heart. Because when we're in the head, what do they say? In your head, you're dead. And it is. We're just going to monkey mind all the time.
Yeah.
When you're in your heart space, you get to enjoy and love and have peace. It's the most amazing space.
Yeah.
Jean, we would love for you to stay with us for a card pull that we do every episode. And before we do that, what would be the best way for people listening to get in touch with you?
Sure. They can either go on social media, Facebook, Jean Sheehan, or Instagram, Jean Sheehan, or my website, Millennium Education.
Excellent. Fantastic. That's really cool. And we'll have all of these details on our Instagram. We'll also have them in our show notes. So let's take a break now, and then we'll get into AstroloTea.
Hey Groovers, Matt Dragonstone here. Welcome to AstroloTea. This week is really interesting. It's all about relationships and our minds. There's a square from Mercury to Saturn on Monday. There's an opposition from Venus to Chiron on Monday. Mercury goes direct on Wednesday, and then that same square from Monday comes back to haunt us again on Friday. If none of that makes sense, that's totally okay. The point of this segment is to slow it down, talk about it, make it simple, and get the most value out of this, a most unusual week. So let's kick it off.
Let's get into Mercury square Saturn. I am a little bit scared about this one, but also not really.
Yeah, it's this is the retrograde that never really happened, but also happened on a really deep level. And there's a little bit of time at the end that I want to just kind of talk about some examples of this. But first, on Monday, Mercury forms the same aspect twice this week. Okay, so Monday's the first time it forms it. It's a square from Mercury retrograde in Libra to Saturn in Capricorn. So it's retrograde on Monday, and then Mercury goes direct on Wednesday, and then on Friday the same aspect happens again, but this time Mercury is direct in Libra, and that square forms between Mercury and Saturn. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
I think so.
Cool. Nice. Well, all this week, Mercury is going to be more or less stationary. It's going to be slowing down on Monday to station direct on Wednesday, and then it's going to be very slowly moving direct on Friday. So this is kind of a very Mercury-heavy week, and this aspect, Mercury square Saturn on Monday, is kind of the first taste, I think, of quite an intense mental week for all of us. So the effects of this are going to be quite interesting.
So what can we expect?
All right, so because this is a square, it's drab, and it's a square between Mercury and Saturn. So we really want to think well of everything. We want to think in a nice, balanced Libran way with Mercury in Libra, but we also find ourselves faced with responsibility, obligation, and a need to do the necessary with Saturn in Capricorn. So sometimes we can't do one because of the other, right? We can't please everyone because we have to do sometimes some quite, unpleasant things because they have to be done. And sometimes we want to do, practical things and start building, real structure and making progress, but we have to consider everybody else's point of view mentally. So that's like a recipe for super frustration, right?
This reminds me of like just managing a project or something. It's just going to be like one of those days where it doesn't matter kind of like what you do or how you try to like get ahead. It just feels like lots of challenges, and it's generally because you're either like, not thinking of other people or, not planning ahead. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. It's really, really difficult to do stakeholder management this week. And it's really difficult to make plans that, accommodate everything that needs to be accommodated, because ultimately these two transits, the one on Monday and the one on Friday, are good for not very much, really. It's going to be a hard week to get our heads around, literally.
I'm actually excited to hear this because I have all next week off work, so I do not have to stakeholder manage. And I have a full spa day for me and my boyfriend on Monday. So living.
Perfect. So one of the effects of this transit might be really interesting considering the current climate in Melbourne, which is that reality might push us to accept the inequalities and unfairness of those around us, even though we'd really, really rather not do that.
What?
Oh my gosh. Well, I actually love the sound of that. My COVID brain is literally like, finally, somebody will address insecure work in Melbourne, or you know what I mean? Or the inequalities in healthcare settings where there's still like cases blowing up.
I think it might be something a bit more mercurial. Mercury is communication and it's the mouth, right? Mm-hmm. And Saturn is rules. And what rules currently govern our mouths when we're out?
Masks.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we might find that masks become a big thing this week.
Yeah.
And, rules around masks, and people aren't really going to be that into it. And it's going to be difficult for people to communicate how frustrated they are because this is like a Libra Capricorn square. So that might actually be part of the surface manifestations of a deeper tension.
Dang, that's really frustrating to hear because we were just talking about how grateful we were that masks weren't being politicized like they are in America.
I think it might be time, I'm afraid.
Just find them all if they don't want to wear them, for Christ's sakes. Just put it on your face. It's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, sounds really intense.
Well, if that sounds intense.
Yeah. Give me some Chiron.
All right. So on Monday, the same day as the first Mercury-Saturn square, Venus is opposing Chiron. So Venus is newly ingressed into Libra. So it's gone from Virgo to Libra, and Mercury's gone from Scorpio to Libra because it's retrograde. So there's a lot of Libra action at the moment. And because it's newly ingressed into Libra, it's sitting opposite Chiron in Aries on Monday. Okay. So Chiron's a tricky one, okay? It's about healing, but it's healing through pain. It's not sort of a get-out-of-jail-free card like Jupiter may be. It's more about sort of maybe having surgery to fix a problem, so to speak. There's healing, but you get stitches, It's in Aries, which makes it about correcting our drives and, getting what's good for us and, that sort of Aries mentality, which is to take care of your needs first, that's going to be thrown into a little bit of tension and opposition by Venus, who's in Libra and just wants everyone to get along, and especially when it's in Libra too, right? So it's going to be tense. Monday's going to be tense.
Yeah, that sounds really, really tense. Okay, so it's going to be kind of like people want to get along, but okay, this is going to sound like weird, but just go with me for a moment. In your relationship or with your partner or even like a close friend or whatever, both of you want to hang out and you want to spend time together because maybe you haven't been spending time together lately or whatever, and you keep trying to like reconnect or finish each other's sandwiches, but you're not quite aligned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is that the feeling, or
where
you just can't get on the same page even though like you both want to, but it's like, you kind of can't?
Yeah, it's difficult to see the other's point of view with an opposition. right? So they're kind of wanting to kind of finish each other's sandwiches, which I think is a fantastic phrase. That sort of is going to manifest itself in terms of Aries versus Libra. Okay, so you might, with opposition, sometimes project one side of the opposition onto a person or a situation or a place. So I think we're going to feel a bit of division on Monday with the people who just want to get along and have a good time, and everyone's wearing a mask, for instance. And the people who want to kind of go off on their own and go, I'm free now and don't try and put me back in my place. Because when Chiron is in Aries, we have difficulty going after what's good for us in a healthy way. We have difficulty asserting ourselves in a healthy way. And it just manifests sometimes as, you know, really childish behavior and throwing tantrums and snatching shit and, like, you know, behaving like a kid who's chucking a wobbly. And, you know, that paired against a Venus in Libra, which is just like, oh dear, you know, this is not very pretty. I don't particularly want to, you know, engage in a disharmonious interaction, etc. That's going to be quite tense. And so I think people are going to deal with that tension by splitting themselves into two groups potentially.
I mean, I'm not excited by this.
It's not going to be probably a very good week. I'm gonna call.
Doesn't sound like a good week. I mean, Mercury's going direct, so we should be celebrating. But I feel like all these wild squares and oppositions aren't good.
Yeah, it's not going to be horrific, right? Because we don't have Mars and Saturn squaring off against each other. We don't have Pluto and Mars or anything like that. This is kind of, you know, Chiron and Venus, and it's Mercury and Saturn. It's not going to be like a bloodbath or anything. It's just going to be really tense, and I think it's really going to be about people learning to get along with each other again after being cooped up in Trachydax, couch masturbating for 7 months straight. So, you know.
That's so funny. So what is this transit good for, Matt?
It's good to sort of take as a chance to see yourself in the other. So it's not pretty and it's not an easy transit, but if you're willing to let things get a bit awkward, then you can gain some really valuable objective insights into how maybe you yourself deal with your woundedness on an ego personality level. And that's a really interesting thing to say to people who may not have this placement natally, but whenever Chiron transits through a sign, it takes a long time. And during that time, we get to understand, you know, more about the particular sign that it's in. And with Aries, like I said, you know, it's about the drives and it's about our defense mechanisms and it's about our will to survive at all costs and just how necessary some of the manifestations of that are in this day and age. I think that's the opportunity on Monday, is to go, you know what, maybe I don't need to fantasize about stabbing that guy in the face because he's not wearing a mask. Maybe I need to put that aggression and that anger in my back pocket, for instance, and maybe if I have to, engage with him on a more equal footing. That's the challenge of Monday, I think.
So a like good opportunity for like self-awareness, even like if you haven't asked for it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, it's a good opportunity to kind of see yourself or be forced out of your kind of little bubble, you know, and sort of see other people's points of view for sure. And then as a result of that, get awareness of yourself from a more objective standpoint. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool bananas. All right, so Mercury's direct on Wednesday. Okay, so this is kind of the Mercury retrograde that has kind of gone by unnoticed, right? How have you guys handled it? Larissa, did anything happen to your house?
No, my house is completely intact.
Ah, cool.
Like nothing, no leaks, everything's fine.
Sweet. That's fantastic. What about you, Lana?
Yeah, I mean, like my mental health has not been great. Like I ended up on antidepressants, so I don't think it was like the best retrograde because I was basically dealing with like last year now, but my antidepressants are working, so I do feel like a lot better.
Great. Cool. Nice one.
Yeah.
I think I probably experienced it as a kind of mental fog. Even now when we're still in the retrograde, technically, it's hard to get the vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
For sure.
There's been like an on-again, off-again opposition for most of the retrograde period to Uranus and Taurus, though, which is interesting, right? So it's not like nothing's happened. We've seen a lot of shocking news, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like James Packer was before the Corruption Commission or whatever it was recently from too much money grabbing, which landed him in pretty hot water. It's a very Taurus Scorpio opposition, Uranus Mercury opposition thing. Berejiklian.
What about yes, and her secret boyfriend?
Yeah.
And like her alleged corrupt behavior. Then also like sorry, what were you saying?
Kevin on bloody Epstein.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was the go with that? I haven't read the news properly.
Just photos of Kevin Rudd hanging out with Epstein.
Oh, yes. Because he's taking on Murdoch Media.
Yeah.
So what's his name is like, get him. It's like to all of his News Corp cronies.
Yeah.
It's wild stuff.
On that topic, it's episode 10, guys. So like in numerology, 10 is the completion of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. And, this is going to be my last AstroloTea for a while. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, you should act more shocked. We spoke about this before.
Oh, no, really? Tell us more.
I know.
Shocked.
No, the real answer is I have to move house really soon, and I need to look for a house, and I need to move house. And back when I was not a parent of a 8-month-old baby, that would have been easy. I could have done it in a couple of days, right? And even back when I was a single man for 15 minutes 2 or 3 years ago, I could have just packed everything into the boot of a hire car and just done it in an afternoon. But I've got a kid, and we need to find a very specific type of place that's okay for families, and I need to move stuff from the country to the city. And when we get to the city, my partner is going to start work again, and we've committed to co-parenting my daughter, Arwen, 50-50. So while we've been in the country, my partner, Joe, hasn't been able to work, and that's been something that's really sort of played on my mind and her mind, obviously. So when we move into the city, I'm going to be looking after Arwen quite a fair bit more, which means my capacity to do AstroloTea and to be on the podcast every week is going to be limited. So what I'm doing is, instead of trying to make it work every week and do substandard astrology, which I will not palate, I'm going to just kind of duck in and out from time to time. So I'm hoping that's okay.
Of course.
Of course it is.
So how many times do you think we'll hear from you?
Oh, whenever the wind blows through the mountains and whispers the name Dragonstone, you'll, that's when I'll show up like a kind of stoned Mary Poppins with a beard, complete with dress. But yeah, that's just every so often. I can't put a time period on it, but I'll be around for sure. And I just want to kind of take the opportunity to thank our beautiful, beautiful listeners for listening, for all of your wonderful feedback and comments and compliments, and for you guys, Lana and Larissa, because I reckon you're both pretty fucking rad. And the past 10 weeks has been pretty fucking rad, and we've done a really awesome thing. And, I'm sad about stepping away from that. And it's because you two are just fucking legends, and I love you both very, very deeply.
We love you too. So I think Lana and I are actually going to take a week off as well, and spend some time to potentially, transform things.
Sick, man.
Scorpio season.
Yeah, it's Scorpio season. We're gonna rebirth.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But first we gotta burn the house down.
Yeah.
So for possibly the last time for a while, and probably in this form, in this manifestation, sis, that's the tea. Thank you all so very, very much, and good day to you.
Okay, we're on.
Whoa, this is my segment. Oh, I just realised I have to do something other than listen. That's not cool. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Larissa. This is These Unprecedented Times, and today we are absolutely blessed. We're blessed. We are blessed and we are shining because we are so lucky to have Jean joining us for our little card pull today. So we're each going to pull a card as we do every week and then have a conversation about some of the energy that might be around for the week ahead for all of us. And we're going to go with the flow and see where that conversation takes us. So I'm going to kick off and hand over to Matt, as I always do, to let us know what card he has pulled.
Thanks, OK. Hi, Groovers. I'm using the Rider-Waite-Smith deck again this week. I've gone back. Last week I used the Dragon Oracle cards, but the sheer awesomeness of their power was too much for me to fit into a single fraction of a segment. So I've gone back to my comfort zone with the good old Rider-Waite. And this week's card is the Devil.
Whoa.
Yeah, sorry, guys. It's not necessarily a bad card in my opinion, IMHO, but there are a lot of correlates with the Devil and number 6 in the Major Arcana, which is the Lovers. So for those playing along at home, the Devil in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck features 2 horned beings chained to a block upon which sits the Devil himself. Bat wings, goat horns, goat feet, and I believe the talons of an eagle clutching the plinth upon which he sits. So this card really is about taking things to excess a little bit. And I think it's about being chained by your desires and chained by the gross matter of the flesh. So if we look ahead for the next week in Melbourne, I know that we're all coming out of lockdown and we're super pumped, but I reckon everyone's just going to take it a little bit too far. And to paraphrase Dang Andrews, we might go a little bit further than above the shelf, so to speak. So beware, because if we take it to excess, we might find ourselves enslaved and chained and restrained and possibly locked up once
again.
More. Yeah, so be warned. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of that down here. For those of you who don't live in Melbourne, we've been chained up for a very long time and now we're released. And I feel like everyone might just go a little bit crazy. So maybe just take it easy and just enjoy the freedom rather than taking it too far. Thank you, Matt. So let's go to lovely Lana and hear what card she has pulled.
Gals, I'm very sorry about this, but I've pulled a Cardinal Moon card from my Moonology Oracle cards by Yasmin Boland, and the message is literally be bold and make the first move.
Sorry about that.
So I guess it kind of, like on the surface, it sounds like it's kind of encouraging us to be bold and to make the first move and to use that cardinal energy. So in astrology, cardinal, fixed, and mutable are like 3 different types of energies. Cardinal is all about like self-starters. So think like the beginning of the season. They tend to start things. They tend to like push things into action. So the Cardinal Moon card is pretty wild. So it says that now is the time to be bold and even bossy. Take matters into your own hands. Cardinal signs are powerful and self-starting. They're determined and great at organizing, and drawing this card strongly suggests that you're going to need to be all of those things in order to get your ideal resolution or position in the situation that you're talking about. So I feel like this is definitely in some way not so much connected to maybe this week, but I feel like as we are as like Victorians, we are all coming out of lockdown. I think that we've all kind of been sitting around and planning, I guess, kind of what the rest of the year looks like. And I think that this is a card that's saying, okay, things are starting to open up now. Get all your like ducks in a row and, you know, act on what you want to do because you haven't been able to and now you can. So yeah, that's what I've pulled.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Thank you. And now, Jean, drum roll, what have you pulled for us today?
Ooh. So I'm going to integrate my card with Matt and also what was just said before. I'm actually using the Medical Intuitive Oracle cards. So they're my cards that I created. And the card that I pulled out is bones. So all the cards have anatomy on them. And the bones are about our foundations, but also our core values. So where Matt was talking about, don't just sort of blow everything, it is looking at, with everything that's happened with COVID, review our values and beliefs. Like, don't just have the same old structure, but also have the strength to be bold, to leave the old as well. So the book says your foundations make you who you are, but it does not mean that this is your permanent framework to your life, being, and who you are. Like any house, you can decorate your framework and be whoever you want to be. It all depends on your deepest core values. So it's really saying, hey, have a look of what is your values and beliefs right now. Maybe they've changed. Maybe it is about tapping into that bigger wisdom. So bones.
That's awesome. Thank you. I love that it kind of is like a connecting into Matt's message and really Lana's as well. Lana's is about stepping out into the new. So that's fantastic. So the card that I have pulled, really interestingly, I actually pulled this card when Jean was telling her story during the first part of this episode. So I cheated a little bit and pulled it a little bit early. I'm using my Keepers of the Light Oracle cards by Kyle Gray. I've been using them for a couple of weeks now. And the card I've actually pulled is Hope. And it's a beautiful yellow card with the Hope goddess on there, and she has what are the flowers called? The flowers.
The lotus?
Yes. Thank you. Completely escaping me. Like, what are the flowers for peace that everyone loves? That's them. So she is surrounded by lotus flowers, and she's absolutely radiant. And the message on the card is about love and acceptance. So it says, love is yours, recognize your divine worth, and choose loving thoughts. So the message in this card is essentially that angels are gathering around you in celebration because you're finally willing to see how loving and lovable you are. So this is really about like self-worth and shining golden light and giving yourself the same support internally that's already all around you. So just harnessing that energy and making sure that you are always radiating self-love and self-acceptance as well. So a ridiculously beautiful card, I think, all in all.
I love that, Larissa. It's really connected to like what Jean said earlier about like moving towards love as opposed to fear.
Yeah. Jean, I'm not sure if you know, but what we usually do in this segment is we each pull a card and then somehow we end up in some deep and meaningful conversation about a very existential topic. And I usually just wait to see kind of what comes to me intuitively while I am pulling cards and we're having a chat to see where I want the conversation to take us. And today I keep getting that we need to talk about love, which is really cool. And only because I know that you have Gina, I know you have such an interesting look on love and a really interesting opinion on love and how you think it fits into the world. So I'm going to just like leave that there, love, and I'm going to open up to anyone who wants to start talking about it.
Oh, I want to say, Larissa, thank you, because I think that's a juicy one,
It is.
especially related to the bones. That perceived concept of love, it's very humans conditional the love. Yeah. I love you if you're this size, this color, you're an alien with green hair, and you eat chocolate cake. But really, that's not love whatsoever.
So explain that a little deeper for me. So you're saying that what we say as humans is, I love you because you look like this and you do these certain things.
Well, there's conditions. There's definitely conditions, but part of, the awakening I had, or just the 4 cards that have been pulled, or you asked me, what is going on with these wobblies this year, whether it's Trump, COVID, or whatever it is all about see what love is. And what love is non-judgment. It is full acceptance. It is not with conditions. It's perfectly embracing everything as is. And for me, the two best examples of absolute love are animals and children. When a baby is born, like when I was nursing, when a baby is born, the first 7 days, that baby is so connected to absolute love. And every time people pick up a brand new baby, they smell it. They have to touch it and smell it because it still smells like love. Or same with an animal. An animal loves you no matter what. If, say, my beautiful dog, Zach, if I bashed the pajamas out of him, which I wouldn't do, but I said, this stupid, dumb dog, bash, 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 he would still love me unconditionally because I'm the leader of the pack. So that thing of awakening to absolute love is never seeing the bad in anything, or not even seeing the duality in anything. It's actually seeing everything is actually perfect. So this is something I had to learn as a child growing up. There was physical abuse, sexual abuse, the whole lot. But when I look at my lifestyle, I was very blessed because it made me who I am, to see the best in people. Even my dad did some horrific things. He was just not in love with himself. But he gave me a gift to go, hey, I was in pain. And if we could see that or play with that, we wouldn't have prisons, we wouldn't have kids committing suicide, we wouldn't have all the torturous things happening. We'd actually see the best of everything. Just like seeing Corona at the moment. What a fantastic wake up. So that to me is what love is. No duality, non-judgment.
And it's such a good point of view, and it's really interesting because this is something I've learned from you that I carry with me kind of every day. When I hear people say, well, nothing's perfect, nobody's perfect, this will never be perfect, I always hear you in my mind saying everything is perfect as it is. Like everything is already perfect, and I kind of carry that with me every day, and I feel like that's a really, really simple way to kind of change your mindset on things and start moving more into love rather than fear.
Yeah, totally. I've written it in my 5 books of we are already perfect, just in different stages of remembering. And the perfect is actually love. So we are already love from birth to death, but along the way we forget. And we think we have to colour our hair and be bigger or smaller or earn more money or whatever the story is. But when I was nursing patients while they were dying, and it was like confession time just before they passed over, they all say, if only, that we forget what love is, that we don't have to do anything, it's actually be ourselves, shine ourselves again.
That's really beautiful, Jean. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I agree with you. I think that love does involve a kind of remembering. And for me, my experience of love has always been that process of remembrance is remembering the similarities that we share with our loved ones. And the similarity that I experience is always the divine spark within all of us that we recognize when we also recognize that we feel love for something. It's very interesting to read things like the Greek philosophers who say that love and desire is to go after something that you think that you lack, and that when you are in love and you have the object of your desire, there's a balance that happens then. But I think that's only partially true, right? I think that love is just lovely, and there is a kind of limit on the boundaries of true love because it's meant to arrive at a sense of balance and a sense of harmony, not so much through a recognition of difference, but through a recognition of similarity. And really, to be in that state is to be in a state of grace, and it's a divine grace. And that's my experience of what love is. And I think it ties in a little bit to what you were saying. I could be wrong, though, but,
No, spot on. Spot on. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was really beautiful, Matt. I really agree. I love talking about love because it's just such a beautiful topic to talk about, and it's always so nice to talk about as well. And I do find that, especially, I don't know, for people that are like maybe younger or even, gals especially. I obviously can't talk to how different this is like through the prism of masculinity. I assume it would be much harder. But just the idea of surrendering to the idea that, love is just simply like all good and no bad. And that idea that we can have something like that exist, in this world and in this lifetime. I think that we are all a little bit kind of cynical, or we're brought up to believe that love is conditional when in fact it's not. I know that especially this year for me, that was like the biggest messages that I was getting when I would wake up from surgeries, especially brain surgery, like that it was like that I was just completely surrounded by love, and that, that would not just get me through, but keep me like optimistic and make me, at least in my soul, feel like very nourished and safe. And I think that that is definitely something that, people forget, but they do find through, traumatic events like surgery or COVID or a pandemic, or, even just, losing their jobs and having their community rally around them. So I really love talking about this topic, because it's so nice and you can just kind of, take it in so many different ways.
Yeah, it really can go anywhere. It's so good. I think, and I really think the concept of like kids and when we're young and love together is a really interesting journey as well. Like if we think back to, we probably can't think back to when we were kids and before all of the weight of the world was put onto your shoulders. And I think, Jean, you say that that's usually when you're like 10 or 11. It's when you start coming into a place where, people tell you how to think and how to talk, and how to act and how to behave and what to wear. And it's, all these things are put on you. Whereas before that, you're just like free, and it's like ultimate freedom. So it's really, I think that the love chat's interesting, especially when you think about it from a kid's point of view. And I love it when you talk to a child about love and like the things that they say and the things that come out of their mouths, and you're like, oh my God, they're speaking the truth always.
It's so simple for kids. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't been, conditioned on how to think or what to do just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, love, that was that.
That was lovely.
It was a really nice way to wrap up. So thank you so much for all of your views and opinions. I feel like we're all a little bit more awake after that conversation. And specifically, big thank you to you, Jean, for joining us on the episode today. It has been an absolute joy. I feel like we've all had little awakening moments throughout our conversation, which I am sure you are very aware of. So thank you for joining us again.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the connection to all of you. It's just been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And as we said at the start of the episode, you can find Jean through her website, millenniumeducation.com, and on Facebook and Instagram at Jean Sheehan, but we'll put all of that information in our show notes and on our social media as well. So thank you so much today for joining us. As you guys know, we have new episodes every Monday, and you can subscribe on Spotify or Apple or any podcasting platform that you like to listen to podcasts on, so that you don't miss out on an episode. And if you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would leave us a review in Apple as well. Make sure that you do follow us on Instagram at HelloStarHose. And if you would like to know more about your stars and astrology and hear it directly from our wizard Matt, please book a reading with him at dragonstoneinsights.com. As I said before, we'll put everything in the show notes and on socials so that you can dig deep if you would like to learn a little bit more about what we've spoken about today. But other than that, that's all we've got. Remember to be kind and love each other. And we will see you all really soon. Thank you for listening.